Norway Chess 2014, being played from June 3rd through June 13th, 2014, with a great players, many of the top 10 in the world. It's going to be a great tournament. Boy, oh boy, look at this. After 6 rounds in Norway Chess 2014, three-way tie for last, three-way tie for first, 4 at 3 points. Last place is only 1 point out of first place. Look at that bunch. 3.5, 3.5, 3.5, 4 threes and 3 2.5s. Amazing, amazing, amazing. It's anybody's tournament. One person I tip my hat to a little bit is Simon Augustin from Norway. You'll see him there at number 4. He's tied at 3 points. He's had 6 draws, and he's drawn some of the greatest players in the world. He's Magnus Carlsen's former coach. My hat's off to Seaman, but boy, look at this bunch up. It's going to be great the next 3 rounds. Hi folks, John Cordisco back again. As we say here in America, holy crap. Are things really starting to heat up at Norway Chess 2014, or as the English say, hotting up. Amazing stuff. This is round 6 between Veselin Topalov, former world champion from Bulgaria, and Vladimir Kramnik, former world champion from Russia. It's going to be a Nimzo Indian. I kind of spoiled it a little bit. I showed the standings just prior to this video, but I'll tell you, it's an amazing tournament. Knight to f6, c4, e6. Before I continue, I want to say that there's no love lost between these two guys. When they played for the World Championship several years ago, the Topalov team said that Kramnik cheated in the private bathroom they had during the World Championship. They found a cable in the ceiling or something, and they've never resolved that issue. Of course, you know, there was found no evidence that said Kramnik was cheating, but these guys don't even speak. They don't shake hands. In fact, they both don't come back to the commentators. One might come, but not the other. It's pretty bad, and the bad blood is still here. I mean, you're basically calling the other guy a thief and a cheat. Anyway, they did ask Kramnik if he was going to shake Topalov's hand, and he said no. And they asked Topalov, if Kramnik put his hand out, would you shake it? And he says, I can't answer a hypothetical question. So anyway, let's get on with the chess. Enough of the personal nonsense. b4, knight f3, castles, bishop g5, c5. Let's go back here a minute. The choice of the computer is h6 and then c5 as second. They're both close. This is all theory, I'm sure. h6. Bishop. C takes. Knight takes. Now this is something I was surprised Kramnik did. Computer calls for b6 or knight c6. Just get your pieces out, get them developed. He goes d5, which is going to make this very complicated now. What to do, what to do. The best move according to the computer is e3, which I happen to agree. After e3, if pawn takes, bishop takes, you pick up a tempo, that's good. He played bishop takes, queen takes, c takes. Now this is something that must have been in Kramnik's preparation. Number 1 move is he takes d5. Granted, it gives black an isolated pawn. I think that was his best bet, with basically an even game. Kramnik decides to go rook to d8. Takes a lot of guts. Maybe it was his preparation. Of course, e3. Instead of playing e takes and isolating the pawn, he played rook takes. I'm sure it's still in his preparation, and we all, of course, see why the knight can't take, because he's pinned against the king. Queen to b3, the obvious move. Now, this is what happens sometimes to either one of these guys, but especially Kramnik. He really goes for it. I mean, he really pushes the envelope. And what he does here is a big, huge surprise. a5 is probably the move, or bishop takes the knight check. He plays rook takes. an exchange sacrifice. And after e takes, knight c6, white just develops, getting rid of the castle, and queen to f4. Now we all see why queen can't take that pawn. It's after castles, queen to b6, bishop takes, pawn takes, knight to a4. Not a very good game for black. After queen to f4, castles, knight takes, queen back to d1. Now, let's see what everybody sees what will happen if queen takes b4. Knight to f3 check, loses the queen. So that bishop wasn't free. After queen to d1. Now, anyone that talks about chess, especially the people that don't play or play very well, that is just calculation. It's no emotion involved. It's just pure calculation. Absolute crap. Kramnik really wants to go after Topalov for obviously the bad blood they have. And on top of that, Topalov is in last place. Kramnik is in first place. If he can get rid of this guy, it'll make him feel better, frankly. He doesn't like him. And so he's going all out, and he's trying things he normally wouldn't try. And that's psychological. That's not pure calculation. So enough of my rantings. After queen to d1, bishop takes, rook takes, now pawn takes. You don't want to isolate the pawns. e5. Now black has a knight and a pawn for the rook. That's about a point advantage for black. So, I mean, black's okay right here. And I'll tell you the truth. This knight is a really good knight, and he's in a good spot. Bishop c4. Now you're going to see later. This diagonal, and especially this pawn, going to play a key role. How many games have you seen the f7 pawn have trouble? Tons. Bishop d7. Queen to c1. Queen f6. I mean, Kramnik's still okay. Queen e3. Bishop c6. Now you're going to see a great maneuver. This is where I think Topalov starts playing very well and very accurately. Bishop d3. Beautiful move. Doesn't seem like much now, but you'll see. After rook to e8, he goes bishop right to e4. Bishop. Rook d1. Queen a6. If he had gone queen to b6 instead, b4 would have been the correct response. After queen a6, rook to c7. Here we go. And Kramnik does something I was really surprised at. It's the computer's second move. Frankly, he played queen takes a2. Now, the queen's cut off. You're going to see shortly. Gets cut off from the protection of the king. If he had won bishop to c6 instead, after bishop takes, pawn takes a3, I mean, black's not winning or anything, but he's okay. He's just okay. That knight's a really good knight, and the queen is really active for black. So black should be okay. Rook takes, a6, b3. Great move. Great move. It cuts off the queen. And if we see if knight takes, bishop comes here, and black's in a lot of trouble. Rook to f8 is probably the best move. Bring the rook back. It's kind of passive, but you've got to protect the f7 pawn. He plays rook to d8, and immediately the points jump up for white. It's almost 2.5 point advantage now. If queen had taken, queen takes, knight, and that's the end of that. You're going to lose. You're going to lose either the exchange again, or you're going to lose a piece. But he went rook to d8 for a reason. He went rook to d8 to cut off the bishop from coming here. But guess what? He moves bishop to d5 anyway. Now if rook takes, rook checks, bishop e8. Are you kidding me? Rook takes check. Game is over. And even if he didn't, and he moved the king, queen checks, and he picks up the rook. I think Kramnik missed that. So after bishop to d5, when he realized it was a huge mistake, he went knight to e2. Check. King to h1. And knight to f4. If instead of knight to f4, rook takes, here's the mating attack. h7, queen e4, g6, queen takes, queen takes, queen takes, king to g7. You see what's coming here. I mean, I'm not even going to go through the rest of the scenario, but it's over. After knight to f4, bishop takes f7, of course. King has to go back to h8. It can't go h7. Queen checks. And black is doomed. Queen b6. Might be a little better to go rook to b6 first. Then after queen to d2, rook to b8. But when you see a line that works, you go with it. Queen to d2. Kramnik now is just, I'm sure he's so disgusted with himself. Topalov moves the rook back to g1. It says king h7, double question mark. And the computer says black has lost his nerve. Understandable when you consider his position. It called for queen to d6. And then f3. h3, excuse me, escape for white's king. And this is where black makes another mistake. I don't know if it was time pressure or not. We're on move 32. He should play rook to d7. He should be okay. Not okay, but he might be able to survive. He plays rook to d6. Huge mistake. If he had played queen to d4 instead, it would have been a 2-point advantage for white, but he might have survived. After rook to d6, queen to c7, bishop to d7. It says rook to d7 is the last chance for counterplay. So after queen moves, rook, queen takes, d4, it's still over. Queen to b8, h5, queen, king h6, queen h8 check, king g5, queen takes. I'll just go the last 3 moves for you. Bishop takes, knight takes, queen checks, king f6, queen takes the knight, queen takes, queen h6, just going in for the kill, queen g7, king e6, g4 check, and king e7. Now see if you can find the winning move. It's not an easy move to find. Rook to d1. After rook to d1, he has to take the rook, and then queen takes. And that's the end. Tough break for Kramnik. He tried. He pushed the envelope. Didn't come up. Like I said in my other video, sometimes you're the pigeon and sometimes you're the statue. Today, poor Vladimir was the statue. Losing to his nemesis, though, a person he personally dislikes, must have been even harder. I know he left the building. He didn't come to the commentary area. And so it goes. So holy crap, here we are after round 6. The first place player is only 1 point higher than the last place. This is going to be something the next 3 rounds. Boy, oh boy, oh boy. Don't miss out. Look for other games coming up in the next 3 rounds, which are going to be the pivotal rounds 7, 8, and 9. And remember, if you think chess is just a game, you're not playing it right. Take care, folks. Bye-bye.
Into the deepest jungles went Pressman toy makers looking for something new. The secret they brought back for you is incredible. The Pressman Witch Doctor Head Shrinkers Kit. Plastic flesh, mixing cauldron, and petrifying potion. Just pour it into the mold, and in minutes you can add monster hair. Paint it with a coloring kit included, or make up your own decorations. In 24 hours, the heads shrink down. Now, shrunken heads for all occasions. Collect them, swap them, give them to your Witch Doctor friends. You can always cook up more with Pressman's Witch Doctor Head Shrinkers Kit.